Hi, my name is Gina Eilers. This is what I hope will be at least a short series of videos to speak toward things that affect the civil rights of transgender persons. About these are my opinions, so if others share them, that's fine. But if not, these are valid. They're how I feel about things, and each one will be very important to me. My first therapist taught me the transgender experience is highly individualized, and that's something all of us need to remember really about everything in life. Life is highly personal. Each one of it lives us according to how we're put together and how we feel about things. So this first video actually is about how I was put together, and I think is a good starting place when we talk about civil rights, because when we think about civil rights, it's so easy to address those things that are visible. When my mom was pregnant with me in the mid-1950s, it was right about that time where thalidomide was given to pregnant women, and then we found the birth defects were just horrific. Limbs that were absent or very shortened, and lives that were tremendously affected because the thalidomide's effects were easily visible. It was easy to recognize there was a problem going on and recognize that these people had a real condition that needed caring for. Well, that's where I come in. I have a real condition, this gender dysphoria. It's not a sexual fetish. It's not a lifestyle. It's not something that I ever wanted for myself. As far as I'm concerned, it is a condition every bit as real as any cancer or Parkinson's or a form of depression. In the mid-50s, there was a drug, diethylstilbestrol, which is an artificial estrogen, which was given to pregnant women who were prone to miscarry. My mom miscarried 2 times right before pregnant with me. The drug was ultimately known to be an endocrine disruptor. In other words, it played around with the hormones of the body. In at least one study, it has been shown that as many as 50% of males whose mothers took the drug while pregnant with them identified somewhere on the spectrum of transgender to gender dysphoria all the way to fully transitioning. So I believe that my endocrine system was disrupted, so though my body seemingly formed fine male, my DNA is male, I was able to father children, I do have some physical signs that it didn't form quite right male. I never developed an Adam's apple, and my study taught me that if the androgen, one of the male hormones in the brain, is affected when the fetus is growing, then you'll either grow an Adam's apple when you go through puberty or you won't. I never grew one. And in speaking of puberty, I never grasped it at the time, but I went through puberty way after, like a year or more after every single boy in my class. So it was very hard on me. And now I have reason to understand why that might have happened or even probably happened. Another one is left-handedness. I'm left-handed, and there's such a higher incidence of left-handedness where all of these factors are involved. And there are some other physical things. The other one is my mom was under extreme stress when she was pregnant with me. There have been some studies done to show that women under extreme stress, there have been effects on the sexuality and the gender of the babies growing in their wombs. My mom was under the extreme stress of having to make a very terrible decision regarding the life of my oldest brother. Jim was born healthy, but when he was a little baby, he developed whooping cough, something that was pretty bad in the early 50s, and he was mistreated. He was, I believe, over-medicated, which caused severe brain damage. Jim is still alive. He's in his 60s, and he's doing quite well, but he's never been able to walk, never been able to talk. He's had crossed eyes ever since then, and he has needed 24-hour care his entire life since that happened. Well, After Jim, my mom very quickly had my brother Tom and my sister Sue, and then she was pregnant with me when Jim was turning 5, and my mom and dad had to decide that my mom couldn't take care of him. And what my mom said, I don't know how many times I heard her say it throughout my life, the hardest decision she ever had to make was signing Jim over to be a ward of the state of Michigan so they could take care of him. And she felt like the worst mother on the face of the earth. And I'm here to tell you, my mom was as good a mom as there ever was. So my mom was under extreme stress. And I suspect she was given this artificial estrogen. And if I may say so, my little fetus person was the victim of that. Nobody knew, but that's what happens. So I want you to know that the reason I had gender dysphoria, the reason I'm finding it necessary to transition physically and socially to live as a female, is because I have a real condition. You know, we know now women who drink heavily alcohol when pregnant. And I've witnessed this in some people I have known who have fetal alcohol syndrome. The effects on them are obvious. They are physical, and they are behavioral, and they are obvious. Nobody denies it. Well, you know what? It's exactly the same for me, and for so many like me, who have this real condition, not because we want it, or because we're weird, or because we're perverts, or fetishists, or anything else, but simply because something happened to us somewhere along the line. For me, I believe that my hormones were disrupted. So though I formed male, my hormone system formed more female. And now that I'm on hormones, I feel so much better about myself. And I finally feel like that mismatch of brain and body I've had my whole life is finally being taken care of. The way every person with any kind of physical malady wants to have some kind of healing. That's all I want, is healing. I hope you can understand that, as anytime you are hurting, you want healing for yourself. Thanks. Bye.